This is Yodsanan Sityodtong at WKO in Pattaya. So he's basically explaining to me here how it's easy to fight when you just kind of like keep someone off of you with jabs and teeps. He's basically like jabs and teeps keep you relaxed and stress your opponent.
But if I teach the people, I can take it. No shame. Because I know people not say me.
So he's explaining how he teaches people. He's like, not everyone is like me. Not everyone has my style. So I look at what people do and I just make them better. Like, see what people's style is and try to make them better. He's from Sisaket, which is in Assam, and he came to Sityodtong camp in Pattaya when he was maybe like 15 years old. And there are pictures of him on the wall behind us. He became a WBA world champion in boxing. He has incredibly fast, hard, accurate hands. But he was talking to us before this session about how much he loves Muay Thai and how he just loved training. And he would go to bed at night, and if he hadn't trained well, he would just think about it all night, like, how can I be better the next day? He's just got such a heart for Muay Thai and fighting. And even though boxing was not his favorite, he excelled at it so much. He's totally the kind of student that any teacher really, really wants. And he's a really good teacher as well. So he's talking about Master Yodsanan of Sityodtong camp, and he's saying that he always taught them technique and that you don't have to go full power. If your technique is right, you can do everything at like 60% and knock people out. So basically, when you have the right technique and you're relaxed, that's what makes you a dangerous fighter. He's showing how if you do this whole wind-up, like, huge power thing, my don is what they say in Thai. It means it doesn't land, it doesn't affect your opponent. So you just relax. Watch his elbows. Look at how they come out of nothing. He's like, it's easy. This is really beautiful. He's talking to me about how if you like thud someone with your elbow, it doesn't do anything. You want to slice them, which is actually very light. See how he's thudding his face with my elbow? And then he just grazes it. He references Karahat for how he had elbows like knives, and he's like, he didn't do it with power. He just grazed everything. What was amazing is that even though he was grabbing my elbow and like hitting his own face with it, I could feel how it's like a razor across his face when he was bringing it just the bone of the elbow. And so here he's showing me how he wants me to like move in and out with the jab. You don't run away after the jab, but you kind of like stab in and sting and move out of the way. He's a left-handed fighter, and so I was asking him to teach me some left-handed stuff. But he's asking me, do you want the opponent to be right-handed or left-handed? And I'm like, right-handed. So he just switches. And he's saying that in Thailand, people love to clinch. So he's showing me how to stay out of the clinch, but also like hit someone on the way into the clinch. So basically, you slap the front hand down and can like grab the neck and knee as someone is coming in to grab you. I think he thinks that because I'm Westerner, I can't clinch. I don't think he knows I'm a clinch fighter. But that's okay, because this is an important thing to learn. He loves the teep. He's like all about this teep, and he hops on it. It's like a, he says skip, so you like slide on the teep, and he'll work with me on that a lot. But right now, he's just getting me to like use the jab and the teep as this electric fence to create distance. So he's saying Muay Thai is not like boxing. You don't want to like stand your ground the same way you do in boxing, where you like lean into people. So he's showing how to have a long guard to protect yourself. and then you strike out of it. But he wants more in and out movement from me and side to side. He wants me to do these slipping off to the side things that he's working with me on right here. You have to step to the outside of your opponent's foot. I was super intimidated by his, I don't know what, but I was having a really hard time coming in and closing the distance. So he's trying to get me to use these longer range weapons to close distance, and I'm just not closing it. So pay attention to what he's asking for, which is keeping your opponent at the end of your strikes with the teeps. He's like, you can teep the belly or you can teep the thigh. When you teep the leg, it doesn't have to be hard because you're basically just knocking them off balance and they can't do anything. But do you see how he's waiting for me to use timing as he's trying to close the distance? Like, he wants me to wait for him. He decides to put shin pads on so that he can kick me to, like, interrupt more. Kevin's chiding me because I'm staying so far away. And this is the thing, is that my tension is making his style that he's trying to teach me ineffective. So you, in order to keep your opponent at the end of your strikes, you have to be relaxed. You can't be tight doing that. But see how he wants me to step off to the side, to the outside of his jab? He wanted me to really hit his arm to, like, off balance him while I'm stepping over, which is actually the opposite of what Karaha teaches, which is to barely touch the arm. But both are effective. Watch his movements, like how he's kind of cutting angles at the right moment. I'm trying to cut angles for the sake of cutting angles, but I'm not choosing the timing. He wants me to kick and then teep. So basically, you throw the first kick, and when they block it, you expect them to block it again, and that's when you throw the teep. But see how he's bringing his weight in to like fake? He wants me to teep him as he's coming in, to use timing as he's trying to close that distance. And he wants me to hop on the standing foot and turn the foot that I'm hitting him with just a little bit. But he wants me to hit with the ball of the foot, he said. You don't hit with your heel or with a flat foot. It is the ball of your foot. Here he's showing why you turn it a little bit. See how my heel is kind of like a handle? If you get caught, you can teep again. But he says turn the foot first and then teep again, so you can slip out. So you teep however you teep, and then when you can't get your foot out, you turn it sideways and teep again. See how he's got a handle on my heel? I actually can't turn my foot because it's going towards his thumb. If I had done it faster, it might have worked, but he was also messing with me there, so. You can see in what he's trying to show me with this cutting of angles and, like, throwing the hand, like, hitting his jab as I'm coming to the side. You have to keep a closer distance than what I'm doing for this whole system to work. So if you look at what he's asking for, you can read what the correct distance is for his style. And it's about a step closer than what I'm doing. So he wants the kick right off of the block, and then I can teep after that. But again, it's this thing with these top-level fighters, is that their offense and defense is very fluid. Like, everything just flows into the next thing. So here's the first thing he showed me, remember, where you, like, pat down the front hand and then grab with the back hand into the clinch. But so he wants me to turn him, but I have to step past his front foot and then use my hip and my leg and my arm all as one piece to swing him around. But he's saying come to the inside because you have much better control. So even though I smacked his hand down and came over to the outside, you swim to the inside. See how he's using his inside grip to pop my arm up? Look. And then I can kind of pull myself under it. See how he didn't even have to step? He just kind of popped it over, and then he pinned my arm to my own neck. I was actually choked a little bit, and he pinched it so that there's no way I can get out. I'm not pinching him together there. But you have to step back with the knee that you're kneeing with to have power. So here I'm asking him, because I'm smacking the hand down from the outside, so I'm like, then I have to swim in, yeah. So here he's correcting me, where after you go under, you have to pinch. You basically hug the person. He's saying you don't have to step to the side so much if you're going to throw the arm over. The important part, though, is stepping that foot back so that you have power on the knee. So I teeped him into the ropes and then didn't follow him. So he's saying when you get someone in that kind of position, you have to follow and take advantage. Because they are off balance, they can't do anything. So this is a chance for you. So see how he's creating some obstacles for me on my way in. So I have to keep pressing him back into the rope, but like keep the correct distance to be able to throw those strikes instead of just snuffing myself. I'm still not pinching his arm. Here, he's gonna work on that a bit. See how he uses his forearm to push my arm up? And then he's pinching my shoulder with his chest.
No one time.
Not one time. If you have someone in a completely fucked position, you keep kneeing them. Just land as many as you can and then you can throw them. Said don't stop. So I can keep pulling him around, but I need to keep pulling my leg back in order to keep landing those knees or drag him down.
When he does it, he like chokes you with it. I've done that all the time.
Good, but not enough.
He's like, the knee is good, but it's not enough. Do like 4 or 5 of them. But you don't have to rush either.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love this. He's saying that if you do these really dramatic, visual, painful knees, every single judge sees it, and they all agree. If you have like secret knees, there's one judge who didn't quite see it. He said, if I cannot see, I cannot agree. So basically you want to do moves that every single judge sees. Because I let him go, he was able to come back with that. So see how he keeps the distance that he wants? He doesn't back out too far. He waits. That's what I need to be doing. So he wants me to step out to the side and then kick. I kind of like kicked as I was moving to the side, which takes all your power out of it. Not like that.
Look good and very power.
He said it looks good and you have power.
No power.
He said it's not beautiful and no power. So after I do the teep, I need to close that distance so that I'm keeping him on the end of my strikes.
50-50, I need to kick. I'm not. But
So he's saying if you're
worry
very
about
far
cannot.
and you're like, I want to
You
kick, but you're not
must
sure that
step.
you can kick, take a
for
step.
Sure.
Sorry.
If you
Be
kick,
sure of your kick.
can already.
Yeah.
If you think 50-50,
He's like, if you
no
know
need.
you can kick, kick.
You want to
If you're
step
not
more
sure
and
if you can
boom.
kick,
Sorry.
take a step.
Sorry.
ไม่เสียเวลาได้แล้วบุ้มบุ้มเหมือนกันเห็นไหม
He was sure he could kick.
ปึ๊บบุ้มไปก่อน
Sorry.
ดีมาก
So I'm either too close or too far.
ดีมาก
But that's how you create the distance you need when you're too close, is stepping to the side. You can't step to the side when you're too far away. It doesn't do anything. It's like slipping a punch from 5 feet away.
If I cannot clinching, if I cannot go inside,
Sorry.
I need no power. Even outside, no power. Even to knee, go in first for sure. Control
Control Douglas.
ดีกว่า
So he's saying that if you don't have a good
If you see,
position with your arms,
เคนเอาดิ
you can't land powerful
บ๊าย
knees.
บาย
Sorry.
So he's saying first swim to a powerful position so that you can land really powerful knees with the turn.
ทิปnon stop faster
See how he snatches his foot out from the teat? There's a snap back from his teat,
ไป
and he pulls it like with his knee and his hip. This is really important for southpaws because when you're facing an orthodox fighter, your front sides are against each other, so it's really easy to catch each other's front teeps. So being able to balance and snatch that teep back is very advantageous.
Too far, baby.
He wants me to be using
Already,
my weapons to set up for and look for that left kick, because that is like your power shot. That's your high point shot.
รีแลก
Sorry.
He's like, if you are far away, that's your chance to breathe. That's when you get your power back. That's when you relax. But that's also what your opponent's doing. So when you chase your opponent down, you're keeping them from breathing. And then if I need to breathe and take a second, that's when I'm teeping and keeping them at a distance.
ดีมาก
See how he stays in one spot and then just cuts an angle to get around me as I'm trying to close in? It's easier for him while I'm chasing. So what I should be doing is waiting for him to come in so that I can be doing what he's doing. You have to be relaxed with every single style of Muay Thai. Like, none of them work super well when you're tense.
ปึ๊บเร็วไป
So on that like move over where I'm slapping his arm, I kind of have to wait for him to come. So see how he pulled my leg across my body there so that he could kick me in the back? He didn't even move his body, he changed my angle.
โอ้ยโอ้ย
See how he like rubber banded? He took a step back off of my teep and immediately used the step back to come back after me. That's the kind of like distance you need to be training all the time.
เดี๋ยวแต่ฮะ
So here again, he wants me coming to the inside.
you move the body inside อ่า
So from this position, when he comes to knee me, I just have to
Deal.
turn my hip,
Deal.
not a lot,
Deal.
but I'm basically dodging his
Come on.
knees. You can do that with an outside position too, but from the inside position, you can counter him immediately after dodging his knee. See how he threw my leg across my body so I couldn't counter him when I landed?
Boom, boom,เลย.
So here he wants me to use like lighter techniques to set up for heavier techniques to like collectively flow forward. So he threatened me with a higher kick and then went after my standing leg. Look at how he's using his arms to kind of like parry me to get to those kicks onto my body, to my open side. So I waited a long time on that teep. If I turned my foot and snatched it back, I could have teeped him again or kicked or something off of that. He wants me to respond faster, but not to hurry. It's like knowing what your next move is. So here I can control his arms, which is good. See how he goes around my neck and actually pushes my head instead of pulling it? That's very hard to deal with. He's just pulling me off balance now and can put me on the ground. That's just a forearm, like on the back of the neck or the head. So here he's giving me more time to kick him off after the teep. You can see that he can see what I'm about to do, and that's because of my tension. But see how he wants this like stinging, like a snake? I kick his glove instead of his belly pad. Just kick his belly pad. But so he's showing me how to do the jab as like this stabbing in and then creating the space again, but not backing out. You're just kind of like snapping in. But because he wants the kick right off of it, you turn that spring back into the slingshot into the kick. It's a really good thing to practice, to think about every step backwards as a snapping rubber band back in. That's exactly what he told me not to do before. You have to step and then kick. He said not stay, go forward. He wants me to slide and jump on the teep so that there's all this power, especially as someone's trying to come towards you. You have to counter their forward momentum. I'm having such a hard time with it because of where my weight is while I'm waiting for him to come forward, because I'm thinking of going forward. So again, you have to like in your mind create this like consciousness of going forward and backward rather than having it be a toggle. And again, he's talking about judges. He's like, you want all of your strikes to be visible by every judge. So don't like snuff your kicks at a weird angle. This is a favorite move of many Thai trainers, is to put your leg over the rope and then hit you. What's difficult for me is that part of what he's trying to teach me is this like waiting for someone to come in, but because he so naturally does that, I keep stepping forward. So you have to like jab and come back so that you're still waiting but getting there first rather than like marching forward all the time.
Better for power. The hand must swing down.
So he's saying to swing the hand down on the teep, same like a kick.
Forward.
There are different schools of thought on this, but when people want you to bring your arm down on the swing, it's always for the torque. And he wants me to turn my foot just a little bit so that I hit a bigger target of him when I'm hitting. And it's harder to grab. See how it slips out? Don't let your heel be a handle.
Easy for me. Turn, not easy. อย่างนี้ turn ได้ not always not always.
So see how he turns it before snapping it back?
Yeah.
It's like turning a key.
More.
He's like, if you're trying to pull it out and it won't come out, just turn it a little bit and then do that second teep and snatch it out.
Second time, bend and push. Harder.
Look at his balance as he's doing that. He totally bends his standing leg, and then he uses his leg that's caught like a hinge on his knee and his hip.
Boom.
See how he got out of the way of my teep just by moving his ass slightly back? That's because I didn't slide on my standing foot. That's why he wants you to hop forward on your standing foot, is so that if someone tries to get out of the way, you just barrel through them anyway. It gives you much more reach. He's basically trying to get me to look at something on the floor so that he can punch me in the face right there.
Boom me! Oh, don't keep me free.
So see how I had a moment where I kind of like got him sideways and then I did not throw the final kick to take advantage of that? Even if it's sloppy, take advantage of the moment is what that lesson is.
Boom! 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 Man!
So there, I was thinking about the jab and I didn't think about the kick. You have to think about them together. He's thinking about all his moves together. He has the next move all the time. So here I started doing more like uppercuts and hooks and kind of cutting. I'm not cutting angles with my body, but I'm using different angles with my front side, and it's more successful. So he's saying go ahead and teep everywhere because that's coming straight forward, and then you cut angles for the power attacks. So that's what I'm kind of learning with my punches that are getting in as well, is like just change the angle a little bit. But he's saying that even these little teeps, like to the thigh and off balancing your opponent and basically just kind of being annoying, stresses them. And if your opponent is stressed, they're not breathing. I chased him down to the ropes and then didn't attack because I could feel that he was waiting for me. I could feel that he had like a trip or a kick or something. I don't win by not throwing anything, so just throw it. And he's telling me that he was totally waiting for me to kick so that he can sweep my standing leg. So he wants me to turn. He's yelling for me to pull him. See how he just changed the angle of his knee down so that I was being pulled instead of controlling his leg? He changed who was in control of that by changing the angle of his knee. He's also bigger. Slightly. Look how relaxed. See how he's changing angles with his shoulders, so I don't know where he's going to come from, and then he hits in the center? I'm not bending my knee. I'm not doing what he just did, so he's teaching it to me. So you pull them in, they catch your kick, and you pull them in by bending your knee, and then you jump up on them. He's like, do it fast, bup, bup, bup. That's the rhythm. He's like, once you've grabbed them, finish. Like, there's nothing they can do once you're up on there. He's adding more things in now. He's body punching me and stuff. Look at his in and out. His his in and out is like his torso moving. He's not taking huge steps back. He has way more distance than it looks like he has. So here I start attacking his legs. And he is getting me back, but because he's showing that that hurts, you keep going after what's working. If you get them blocking on one side, nail the other side. And now I've snuffed myself. So here, pull or pop him over or whatever. See how he's waiting for me to figure it out? He's like, pull. He's a fit dude, and you can see he's starting to get a little bit tired. That's exactly what he's teaching me. He's teaching me to stay on there, like be sticky. See how I'm getting hit all the time, but I'm not, well, there I am, but I'm not backing up? That takes his breath away. Makes them tired. And when they're tired, they have fewer options. So here, he just wants me to choose the distance based on how to stress him, right? So when you come in really close, when he's on the ropes, you have to pressure him and then move just the distance so that you can keep throwing strikes rather than like coming out and starting over. See how he's sticky? He's like stuck to me. That's so stressful, and he's not doing anything. Like, that's not hard for him. I'm trying to long clinch him a little bit. Yes! My moment of glory. So, I'm trying to explain to him my problem, which is that I'm too far away. And as I'm trying to close distance, you can't just walk in. Like, you have to use strikes to close the distance. And he's like, yeah, not only weapons, but fakes. Which is, like, so obvious, but is not easy. It's something you have to train. He said that when he came
when you're afraid, that is when you make the change.
When he came to Pattaya,
1 inch when you're afraid is worth 6 inches when you're not.
He was
afraid.
training at Sityodtong, and he had a friend who was his same weight who had to go fight in Chonburi, but he got really sick 3 days before the fight, and so he went instead. Like, he fought instead, and he knocked the opponent out so fast with a punch that they were like, "You're gonna be a boxer now."
Too far.
So I'm too far. I'm keeping him at the end of my strikes where I don't have power, but what's good for his distance because he's bigger. So I need to just keep closing that space, and there's a spot where I like get past his distance that's better for me. So there is exactly what he's talking about, where like you have to step for your kick. It's not only for closing the distance, but it's also power and balance. Like you can't, if you try to throw from too far away and you're reaching, you don't have power and balance.
Need to go, must go. Cannot. You must play to make sure.
He's like, if you feel like you're too far and you're gonna have to really stretch to get the kick, you're too far. Take the step. So my teeps are stronger, and he likes that. But when you throw someone back with a teep, you have to follow it. See how he's waiting for me to try to close the distance and just jabbing me? So I'm being really still before trying to like cut angles. That's what faking's for, is so that you can hide the movements that you're trying to do that are a little bit not what you're already doing. So here I'm doing a little bit. But look at how he deals with it. He'll take a couple of shots and then use his like stumble back or moving out of the way to turn into a strike.
Don't back up.
So here he corrects what I just did. So I tripped him with the inside leg. I call it the Elvis hip because you just kind of like pop the leg out using your hip. It's not a knee. But he's saying do it from closer.
Step one.
So he's telling me to step, and I totally don't understand what he's talking about. It's as your opponent is closing distance, you basically trip them with your forward momentum, like that. So you use like zero power, and you pull at the same time that you're basically walking forward. I do it from a standstill, but this is from like moving, whether your opponent is moving forward or you're moving forward. But it's about timing, that one. No power. When you're watching these fighters, you can see in their face when they start getting their like groove on. When he's waiting for something, he gets a certain expression on his face, and you can see what his movements are waiting for. So there he's letting me do something. I'm stepping too far away on each one of those, so I have to close the distance again for the strike. That's that stickiness thing. There. He's working on timing for the team here. So I kneed him as he was closing the distance, and he's saying that's fine, but after the knee, pull the head down. See how I didn't grab his head? He's like, grab the neck and pull so that you can continue doing those knees. He's trying to change my one shot into like a super dominant moment knockout kind of thing.
After that, after finish already, you can push. You can push the chest.
He's like, after this, if you run out of knees, you can push and chase them down.
After I run away and
He's like, if I run away, then I can breathe. So basically sticky, like follow them because you're dragging them into deep water. You can like drown someone basically. He does not back up. His distance is so nice. So he got my arm stuck across my face like what he showed me on that pop under. And while I was so busy trying to get my arm out, he landed like 10 knees and threw me. That's why getting to a very dominant position, you don't just get into the position, you punish in that position as much as you can before breaking out of it and throwing someone down or whatever. I'm trying to flow a bit more, and he's doing the like rope-a-dope, looking tired, like moving his shoulders to hide his strikes. Look at how he's timing those teeps. Like he's waiting for me to move forward. This is exactly what he's talking about. In Thai they call it yung. It's the same word for a mosquito. It means to annoy. So basically he's not throwing any power, but with the teep and jab, he's annoying me so much that my stress makes me way more easy to read, and I stop breathing. Turn, he's saying. And I should knee him before I throw him on the ground. And then I just walk away for no reason. I could have hit him like 4 more times.
Everything's one.
So here I'm complaining. I'm like, I only throw 1 shot. Everything's 1-1-1. Like everything needs to flow. That's that stickiness. Like it becomes 1-1-1 because my distance is too far. You don't throw 1 shot when you're at the correct distance or when you're close.
Muay Thai, if you can fight good technique, sparring more than pad work.
He's talking
Pad
about
work
how
only do the stamina strong.
sparring is more important than pad work. Pad work, he says, is for building power. Sparring is for learning timing and distance and technique and like all of the things that are relevant for fighting. You do that in sparring. He said that when he was at Sityodtong, he would spar 12 rounds without stopping after running like 28 kilometers in the morning.
1 round non-stop, about 25 minutes non-stop. And achieve 4%.
He said 1 round was 5 minutes, no stop. 12 rounds. And I'm like, did you do that on the same days that you ran the 28 kilometers around the mountain? And he's like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Good God.
Come here. Run 28 kilometers and spar 12 rounds.
Each day, Thursday and Saturday, run about 10 km. Okay.
He's like, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, okay. Those aren't the death days.
I ran around LA, they have the small mountain.
He's saying that when he went to LA, he defended his WBA title in LA. He ran around a mountain. And I think he said he ran like 14 kilometers in like 36 minutes or something. Because he said the weather's nice. Like, it's cooler than Thailand, so he could run like the Flash around a mountain. That's crazy fast, guys. Google it if you need to look up like kilometers, but that's so fast. It's like sprinting for 36 minutes. He said it took him 9 years to become really good at boxing, which is a long time, but he defended his WBA title for many years, and he had a smaller title before that he defended 19 times before he got the title shot for WBA. He's a hard-working guy. He's 44 years old, and he still trains at the gym. Like, people will get him ready. He still fights. You can see how much he loves training. It's in his heart. He just loves working. Here I'm asking him about the guard. So he says for Muay Thai, this long guard is like the #1 because you can strike out of anything with it. And if someone is trying to come in, you can push them from farther away. But look at how he tucks his elbow in.
After knee, after that, step, elbow, after that.
So after you've blocked, strike. And then after you've struck, block. There's this thing that Thai trainers do, which is they teach you something and then they immediately make it impossible to do. It seems like they're just fucking with you, but it's actually really, really good because you have to commit yourself to it. Like, it's not gonna work every single time. Like, nothing is 100%, but it's really good for you to, like, keep trying to do something, even when it's not easy. Like, right now I'm getting my ass kicked. And just staying in, and if I were blocking, it would be helpful. That sound he's making is what makes this playful. If that were a deeper tone, he'd be serious. Look at how he gives me a chance to work on this. It's a generous teacher, even though it's really difficult to deal with this. He wants me to pop under. So see how I got his arm up above my head? And he's like, use that to turn and make distance. Like, turn it into a finishing move, basically. See how he's letting me work on all the different ways that don't work to get out of that position? That's really good. Swim the arm in. Get control of the arm. Create a little bit of distance. We're calling out our shots. I'm saying sock, which is elbow, and he's saying cow, which is knee. See how he pulled me to the side? I should be pulling him to the side, especially in the same direction he just pulled me. Like, you use the momentum to keep spinning. But look at how you turn something that's not working and just keep working on it until something gives. He's doing that sticky thing that I keep talking about. He wasn't expecting me to be able to slip his... I just grabbed the back of his thigh while he was kneeing and kind of pushed him a little bit. If he knew I knew how to do that, it probably wouldn't have worked, but he didn't know I know how to do that. But it's that same thing where, like, when you keep the distance and just take enough distance to spring back in, you have this, like, stickiness that's like drowning your opponent, and it gives you more options with your strikes all the time. Whereas if you're moving out all the time to create all of this distance, it's so hard to get from far away to close. You're basically doing the same impossible math problem over and over again instead of getting past the first stage. And then once you're close enough, your options become much greater. So here I'm just trying to work on some of the, like, in and out angles and hopping on the teep. Like, just trying to work on some of the things that he was showing me. Here he's going to correct my teep. See how he snaps his leg back out with the knee? He's like, don't stumble forward after. You basically want to be able to keep your position. That's what snapping the leg back. It keeps it from being caught, but it also keeps you from, like, stumbling forward where you don't have control of your momentum. See that snap in his knee? He's showing me that it's the ball of your foot.
Snap back.
I'm not snapping back.
Snap back.
My weight is not transferring. There, when he came a little bit faster, I already had my weight back, so it was easier for me to do it. But you have to, like, on a bag or with a partner, but on a bag is good because a bag swings, so you can work on the timing. You have to figure out where your weight needs to be at the moment that you're going to throw that to intercept someone coming towards you. And then see how he uses, you teep a few times, then you fake the teep and step to the side. I'm having a hard time with the step over because I'm not actually getting into his blind spot.
No power.
He's like, if you're too close, you're not going to have any power on your strike. But see, he wants me to get behind his foot. See that? I have to get all the way over there. The way you do that is timing, because he's coming towards me. And then you can teep again on the other side of it.
You know, I think you on the ring. If I can take so many, I need to.
So he's explaining that if your opponent can't get in, they start thinking a lot and they get stressed and they're moho. This means, like, angry. He's talking about frustrating your opponent. When they get frustrated, they get emotional. They're not at ease. It's easy for you to keep annoying them, and they become more predictable and they lose their power and all of these things. So many trainers have talked about this. It's a huge deal in Muay Thai to be the more Jayenyen, like, more relaxed fighter.
if ผู้ชกเดินนี่นี่
So he's saying if the opponent learn, this means walking. If the opponent is coming towards you,
แสดง
you
อัพ
you use your open palm. It's hard to open your palm in a glove, but work on it. You push on their chest, and then the harder they're coming towards you, your hand will actually slide up into their neck, like
โปรเท
naturally.
คหน่อยอ่า
It chokes you for a second. It totally sucks. It's a really, really good move. I'm trying to do it on purpose. I'm trying to like slide up to his neck. That's not how it works. It's the harder he walks, it just naturally goes up. He wants me to
Push
aim.
harder, you know. Boop. Side up.
Yeah, he wants me to aim for his sternum. And then when you push hard and he's still coming, that's what slips it up to the throat.
It's the power of their force that puts it up to the neck, not you.
So,
Heavy, Sylvie.
so now I'm straightening my leg and trying to use power to just like weigh it down.
เดี๋ยวจับนี่จับเล็งๆอือฮึไม่
He wants me to grab it like a frisbee, right? So you have like top and bottom, and you're like holding the heel.
อย่างนี้เทิร์นเลยเทิร์น
See how he turns his knee down and like snatches it out. My knee has to turn down towards the canvas, and you pull it out. Do it quickly is good. See how he pulls it back?
after he put go up
And then now your back is kind of to your opponent, so this like donkey kick will keep them from chasing after you. In Thai, it's called a deer.
English
So instead of a donkey kick, it's a deer kick.
deer back kick
Go on.
Back kick.
อ่า push
Like donkey.
in Thai say กวางกวาง mean deer
ใช่
อ่าฮะ
ใช่
deer
เรามีม้า
The way he jumped just there is totally how a deer kicks. So see how he's actually pushing me to make it so that what he just taught me doesn't work?
Overtime already.
So if you grab someone's teeth and they turn down and you follow them, like you start pushing towards them, it's very hard to do what he just taught me. I just want to point this out. See how he has like renewed energy to like teach me all of these new techniques after a minute ago he was sitting on the ground watching me shadowbox? That's because I started shadowboxing the things he taught me. If you show your trainers that you're working on what they taught you, they get excited and want to teach you more things.
โอ้เลย
It's very important in Thailand to show your interest and enthusiasm. He's like, this move very good. All the refs can see it. All the judges. I love that he emphasizes that Muay Thai is a visual sport. It's not something that we think about a lot, I think, in scoring in the West, of like, you are performing for judges. We're always like, judges are blind, I was robbed, blah, blah, blah. Like it's a sport that is judged by people outside of the ring. And so the more calm you are and the more dramatic and impactful your moves are, the more beautiful your Muay Thai is.
เช่นไป
And the contrast between how calm you are and how explosive your movements are, it's beautiful Muay Thai.
ครับเทิร์นไปเทิร์นก่อน
So see how he's moving? I do the kick, and then I get back to my position, and then he starts to walk. He wants me to cut angles on the second one.
เตะเตะบึ้มทีนี้ดีกว่านี่เลย
So I've had this done to me, and it sucks. So as you're stepping around, you can grab the back of your opponent's head and just kind of pull them. They go hurling forward. It feels like your head is just way too heavy, and you can't catch your balance. He's saying you can knee someone in the head when they dive forward. I cannot grab the back of his head. Reason being, you do not grab the back of the head. You don't grab the neck. See how he moves it? He's like, the opponent can get up. You grab the top of the head, and you use your forearm on the back of the neck. It's the same in clinching. Totally the same. And my elbow should be pushing into his shoulder a little bit. But it's about finding the right angle. It's not about power. That is not it. My right leg is not stepping outside his stance, which makes it much harder for me. I have to use power instead of the angle. I didn't see that when I was doing it. See his hand on my rib? That's a really good position in the clinch to like wait for someone to knee and then turn them. He's thinking about what I just did. Look at him think about it. Here again, he's talking about judging. He's like, when you get someone in a bad position and you knee them a couple of times and then throw them on the ground, it goes from being a close fight to a you just kick someone's ass fight. Like, you want, if you're good, you want to look way better. Like, you want to do something really dramatic, preferably in the scoring rounds. If you do something really dramatic and beautiful in rounds 1 and 2, that's great, but you just wrote a check, and you have to be better in rounds 3 and 4. So don't use your best moves in rounds 1 and 2. But if you can do something like this late in the fight, you just run away with it. It's like people who are racing around a track and they're all kind of close, and then all of a sudden one of them cuts away. That's what it looks like when you're watching a fight and someone does one of these like head down, multiple knees and throws you on the ground kind of things. So here I'm understanding the timing better. He wants me to hop forward more. He's saying you don't have to have power. Sometimes it's literally only the timing and it can stop someone with like barely anything. It's like you're barely touching them. Like, that's no power right there. That would barely knock a bag back, that first one. So he was at Sityodtong, which means that he trained with Samart. Samart teeps a lot. He's like, I would work with Samart, and Samart would teep me so light, and I'd be like, oh, no problem. Like, anyone can walk through that teep. That teep is nothing to worry about. Teeps him like 8 times really light, and then 1 time super hard after he's already convinced himself that he can handle it. And he's like, you can knock someone out with a teep. It's basically like jab, 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 and then you nail someone with a hard one because they think that they can just stay in against it.
Of course, train hard, fight hard. But if you discipline, easy and ไม่เจ็บไม่เหนื่อยสบายๆ happy, very happy.
So he's talking about how if you're relaxed, you don't get tired. Like, you can actually access all of your knowledge if you're relaxed, whereas if you're trying to do like super power all the time, you get stressed and tense and tired. So I'm talking to him about a fight that Kevin and I watched of his on YouTube. It was a boxing fight. And he has this like uppercut cross because he's southpaw going against orthodox. It's like coming around someone's jab, like to the inside of it. So he says, go ahead and hit the body first because it pops the arms open, and then you can do the uppercut and cross right into the face. You have to be close to get that body shot, so you have to find your way in first. So in boxing, when you're orthodox versus southpaw, you're jab to jab. So I'm asking how to get around this. He's like, this is super easy. You just kind of pad the jab down and elbow over it. This is very Yodkunpon, the elbow hunter. He likes this too. But see how he's saying you don't have to do this like stepping in super hard elbow, because then it's one of the thudding ones. It comes over so that it slices down. He really, really thinks of it like a knife. He keeps saying meat, 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 which is a knife. He's like, samurai sword. Samurai.
when you use แบบนี้ไม่ใช่
He's like, when you use a samurai sword, you slice. You're not like thudding with a hammer.
not good technique
ใช่
wrong technique technique
He said it's wrong technique to try to go really hard and hit like thudding.
ใช่
แค่นี้
You just want to glance with it.
enough
ใช่
He says it cuts for
ที
sure.
นี้ 100% cut
ใช่
100% bye bye
It says 100% cut if you get on the bone.
ไม่เป็นไรอย่างนี้ไม่เป็นไร
What's amazing is when he puts my elbow on his face, I'm nervous because you can feel how just the bone grazing the bone would cut. Like you can feel it.
ทำอะไร
อย่างนี้ได้ปั๊บปั๊บปั๊บได้
So I'm like, in boxing, when you can't elbow,
อ่าฮะ
ใช่ไหม
what do you do
แต่
instead?
อย่างนี้
And it's the same thing. You pat it down, but then you just jab over it.
เจ็บมาเจ็บก้าวเลยปั๊บปัง
This is my favorite. This is so beautiful.
ปัง
Oh,
อะไรทำไป
Please cross
you can't see it from this angle. If you're me, that's horrifying. The way his cross just comes right into my face while I'm trying to jab.
อ่า
พูด the same
My
time
God.
ใช่มีหลายคนนมบังใช่ไหม
ใช่
I'm like, a lot of people are lazy and they don't keep their guard up, which is very. Jesus Christ. It's so dangerous. He's like, did you watch that Pacquiao Marquez fight?
มาเก็ต
มาร์เก็ต
This is how Marquez knocked out Pacquiao. He just stepped over and hit him on the jab.
เดี๋ยวรักมันไปเกี่ยวล็อกแล้วใช่นี่ใช่เพราะ
Look at his shoulders. Look at his back in the way that he steps outside of the jab. Because you can't see his feet, but you can feel where his feet are going by looking at his upper body. Look how it's just like he's stepping past me.
ที่นี่ก็ได้นี่ก็ได้
And he's showing all the different strikes you can do from the exact same step over.
นี่อย่างเดียว
อ่าฮะ
ปัง
ใส่สเต็ปอ่าฮะ
If you look at me, I am not cutting the same angle as him. You can see it from my shoulders even.
Give us the back 1 2
He's like, if you
3, 4.
step back,
ใช่
the person just keeps punching, like karate across.
1 cannot 2 cannot 3 4 5 can อ่าฮะใช่
ปังปัง
I fake ปัง
อ่า
easy
ใช่
I fight the last year everywhere this one I did this one
อ่า
not break เลย
อ่า
this one I do
So
this one.
he was talking about how
everything
he was waiting
you step
in this fight,
ใช่
because
and this guy, as he stepped forward, he jabbed.
50 you come 50 100
ใช่
So this is something Master K used to say.
อ่า
Basically, it's like 50-50 double impact because someone is coming forward and then you're jabbing at the same time. So your jab, even though you're not putting a lot of power into it, they're basically walking into it.
มีเจ็บมาก
He said he jabbed the guy while the guy was faking. Like the guy was faking coming forward and got like nailed in the face.
รู้สึกอะไรยังไง
Here,
Okay, you
he's showing me how to use knuckles properly. So you hit with your first two
ดี
knuckles.
เพลนนะ
ใช่
And instead of like pushing and
Yeah,
thudding
you-
with the flat part, you kind of like knock down with your knuckles.
have one bowl ที่เป็น boxing
It's so painful.
pay me for sparring 3 round 3 round
So he got hired as a sparring
6,000
partner for a
baht.
professional fighter. 6,000 baht
glove
for 3 rounds.
18
He had 18-ounce
ไอ้เจ็บ
gloves
วัน
on.
เจ็บ
The guy had headgear on,
and
and he cut his eyebrows
the
open with
eyebrow.
18-ounce gloves
with headgear
because he can get his knuckles
because
in the right angle.
18-ounce gloves
yeah
ทำโยกใช่ไหม
สันยก
I don't know if he got invited back. He didn't say.
เพราะที่นี่
ใช่ทำนี่ใช่ไหม
So here's the thing. You kind of angle
ไม่ใช่
your
not push
hand down,
when I go
but you don't bend your
I turn
wrist.
knuckle down ปุ๊บ
See
how you
that?
can use knuckle
ใช่อู้
See how it kind of goes down at the last second, but you
Straight,
don't
but
bend your wrist and you
down
don't
it,
pop your
down.
elbow super up.
knuckle
นี่ใช่ไหม
The way you learn to do this
open
really is by hitting your own hand
ไม่ใช่
so that you can feel the difference between the slap and the like, I don't want to do that again
Whoa.
because the knuckles hurt.
ไหมเจ็บไหมไม่
ไม่เจ็บ
ไม่เจ็บ
That does
เฮ้ย
nothing.
เฮ้ยโอ้
Then when he does it for real,
ใช่ใช่
I don't want to talk about how tough I am. I'm fucking tough for taking 3 of those because they
แต่
hurt,
ว่า
man.
ไม่ใช่ปั๊บ
Not down. See how he like swiped? It's not like that.
อ่าเข้าใจค่ะ
And you have to get back out of the way.
อ่านี่ดีมาก
Getting back out of the way also keeps you from pushing.
ซ้ายเหมือนกัน
Don't push your
ซ้ายเหมือน
punches.
กันอ่าต่อยเบรนิดหน่อยสเต็ป
ใช่ไม่แรง
ไม่แรง
ใช่
สเต็ปปัง
โอ้ย
His cross
อ่าฮะ
is so
โฟ
beautiful.
เนี่ย shoulder and body
This is
go
awesome.
forward together
So he basically adds up 100% based on the points. He's like a foot, a knee, a hip, a shoulder, and the arm are each 20%,
more right
adding up to 100%, but they all move together.
อ่าฮะ
Oh,
Get the bend
look at his foot and the bend in his knee. Jesus. It's beautiful on camera. When you're standing where I'm standing when he does it, it is unreal because you can feel in real time. Look at how he's throwing my shoulder forward so it all comes together. That, you do not want to mess with that cross. That cross is so hard when he throws it. And he says that I asked you sit in it, and he's like, yeah, a little bit. But really, it's the whole body just kind of whipping forward at the same time.
อ่า forward หน่อยดีมากเจ็บมากอ่าอ่า
So now he's putting the jab and cross together.
โอ้ย
it's very
The
fast
cross was hard just then. I got the knuckles right. Because of that, everything kind of, it's almost like you
เวลาท่านเหมือน
fall off a curb or like catch yourself off of a stair. It all comes together.
ตรง
I'm asking him when you wrap your hands, do you bend your wrist a little bit? Because Chachai Sasakun said that you bend your wrist slightly before taping it. Also, he's a WBC champion. He said no, do it straight. But you sit. This is his jab. And I'm asking, do you push off of the back leg? And he said, no, not really. It's more of stepping with the front. He clearly pushes with his back leg, but he thinks that he's stepping with his front leg. That's the important part, is where your consciousness is to bring the momentum to that punch. See how his back leg stays where it was so that he can pop back really easily? Karahat does the same thing. So you come with your feet, you don't come with your body. Your body follows because your feet are going, but you're basically punching with your feet.
อ่าฮะปั๊บปั๊บปุ๊บ
And here, he's just punching the ropes, which means that he's showing me distance, like the distance you can get to snap onto this one point.
ไม่ก่อน
Look at his hook. Look at his legs on his hook.
ปุ๊บปุ๊บ
So you pull your shoulder back first by driving the opposite one forward,
สวิงเร็ว
but his hook is really loose.
ๆอ่า
It's very relaxed, is what I mean.
นั่นโฮลบอดี้ดูกัน
It's like not the whole
ช่วย
body,
นิดหน่อย
just the foot, the knee, and the hip.
เหมือนกันเวลา
So this is interesting too.
Yeah.
I've been told so many times you never
Baby.
coffee cup your hand with your thumb up.
นี่อ่ะ
But he asked me which one do you like, which means
When I do it,
you
okay,
can.
but
There
with
are
them.
different options.
when I do this one
Here he's showing me why. His knuckles went behind my jaw, like actually literally hooking behind my jaw. So his thumb is
เหมือนกัน
up,
open
and he hits with those
this
knuckles.
one
But look at the angle of his wrist,
ใช่ใช่
and see how he just kind of like
ใช่ปุ๊บจริงๆ
drive-bys it. It's like glances
No
through.
back
ใช่
You don't pull back from the elbow. The arm has to be all one piece.
อ่า
ในนี้ไม่แรง
ใช่
ปัง
ผ่าน
ใช่
But it's driven by his knee, his hip, and his shoulder, and the twisting of his foot.
อ่าฮะ
It was when I started super relaxing my arm that I got it. I think that what that means is that by super relaxing my arm, I was forced to throw the punch by driving my opposite shoulder
ปัง
without thinking about it. But thinking about it now, I think that's what it was.
ปุ๊บ can you 10
ใช่
นี่ 100%นี่100อันนี้อีกคน
So he's saying that you have to drive with that side of your body. See how all the points,
แค่ชิ้น
the
เดียว
foot, the knee, the hip, and the shoulder, but the arm is all one piece. Like don't hinge your elbow. It all comes as one piece.
นึงอันนั่ง
And you can't stand up too much.
โอ้ย
Oh.
นิดหน่อยนิดหน่อยโอ้ย
อ่า
So I was hopping to cover the distance, which means that my body was relaxed as I was moving through. Oh, Jesus.
ที่สันไหม
โอ้
Ugh.
ได้
No.
ปั๊มฮะ
See how I'm like landing with my legs straight? That's not what he does. His legs are more bent when he lands. It's like a little like frog leap. So this is some pad work, which in pad work I do stand closer, which is really good, but
ดึง
I'm snuffing myself, so now I'm too close and not
ดึง
like pushing him off in order to create the right distances. He wants me to grab the back of his head and really pull him while I drive that knee in on the knees.
เจ็บป่ะ
I have such a hard time with that,
มาเอาขึ้นมา
but
เอาขึ้นมา
it indicates the distance he wants on a knee if you can grab the back of someone's head.
ดีมากเจ็บ
So if you watch his patterns of like what he asks for,
ไปมา
this is not super how someone would fight. Pad work is very fight oriented, but it's also for making power. So he's basically calling power, power, power. And then when we were sparring before, you would fill the time between those power shots, setting them up with smaller, like the teeps to the leg and stuff like that. So this is why he's saying you really need to spar so much, is that you work on all of that filler stuff in sparring. Nobody fights like this because nobody stays at this distance all the time.
ปั๊บปั๊บมาปั๊บ
I had a hard time kicking his pad that close to the rope, which is probably why I have a hard time chasing someone to the rope and hitting them there as well.
ปั๊บมาปั๊บปั๊บ
He's trying to work my timing response a little bit in the way that he keeps the pad down and then throws it up all of a sudden and wants me to like fire immediately. He's trying to teach like hand-eye coordination, sort of. When your trainer does this, where they're like making you kick on both sides, they have to change their stance to do that. Use that as an opportunity to track the open side. It's really, really good to learn. It's so cool to see him in these photos at the gym. There's one behind him of Sifu, who owns WKO, holding pads for him. Yodsanan says he's like 15, like 16 years old in the photo.
Fear.
It's incredible that
repetition.
he has like such a
And you try and
saturated
defend
history
yourself
in this
by being
space,
far away.
and I mean not literally this space, but in Pattaya
It's the
and
worst
and
place
with
to
Sifu.
camp.
It's really good to, when you're working
You stand
between
far from opponents,
shadow
too
boxing,
far.
pad work,
Yikes.
sparring,
Too far.
and the bag.
มัดดู
Tiger
all of
roll
those
like
require
Tiger
different
like long distance.
Yeah.
distances
Tiger
and like obstacles.
เอาละปิง
So I'm too far away and snuffing myself. And so Kevin is pointing out that Thai women like to keep really far away because they like to just wait for you and then throw a kick because they're really, really good at it and they can just score their point. So I have to stay closer, which he's now trying to get me to like come in more and stay in more.
ไหนสอบมา
So See how he's holding for elbows? That means he wants me close enough for elbows. And because I stopped after that kick, I have to cover all that distance again. So even if you don't block or whatever, keep that distance really close. I just will not grab the back of my trainer's heads. Part of it is that I slip off. I have a really hard time with it. Crew Thailand, who we have in the library, taught me to keep my arm bent a little bit, which helps a lot. You can see how I'm keeping my ass back to try to like stay away from him, and then that makes it so that I can't get a grip on him and I'm too far away. It's all these tiny things that create what seems like a single problem. This is interesting because what he was working with me on in a sparring situation, what he's trying to teach me technique-wise of like yung 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 annoying your opponent, is not how people hold pads. So if all you're learning for fighting is pad work and then it doesn't come into the ring with you, that's not weird. Like, that makes sense. This is for building power. So this is building up power shots, and then if you have a pad holder who you're pretty comfortable with, you can start throwing in those smaller things that they're not calling for. Here, he's reminding me to cut angles. See how far away I went on that? He's like, you can go far away if what you want to do is not do anything anymore. Like if you're running away. But if you cut this angle into their blind spot, it's good to stay close because then you can keep throwing things. He said, you don't have to go far. He said if it's the last round and you're already winning and you want to go far away, that's great because you're just like dancing off the last round. And I'm like, yeah, but that's like a minute at the very end of a fight. Yeah. So remembering to do the things that you've learned technique-wise when you're under the pressure of trying to throw all this power, like me remembering to bend my knee and twist on that hook. It's a really good opportunity because I'm not being pressured by him striking me or standing in on me, which I have when he's sparring with me. Instead, the pressure is having to throw with power. So if in a fight you're like, I'm going to knock someone out, your pressure is, I'm just trying to throw with power. That may be the reason you can't access your technique, is because you're trying to be too powerful with it. So in the context of pad work, when he's asking me to throw everything with power, if I can remember my technique, that's a good way to bridge all the different ways that I've been learning from him.
Okay.
Training is complicated, guys.
Doesn't matter.
It's not a I hit the bag and shadow and kick the pads, so I should be awesome. It's like it takes forever to reach all of these things together. And then you have these caliber of fighters who are teachers now, and they can just give you little bits at a time. So being able to access all those little bits takes a lot of attention. So now he just wants power kicks. He told me on my first kick in pads in our first round that I was leaning back too much. So he wants me to lean into the kick, which Samar emphasized as well. So maybe Sityodtong really emphasized it. But because I'm having a hard time, I'm totally leaning back again. So you have to remember the technique in order to self-correct as you get tired and as you're trying to work on so many things at once. That was a little better. Let's lean back on that. But this is one of the hard things, is that when you come to Thailand and you have these incredible trainers, they might not correct all of these things for you. And then you're like, my trainer's not correcting me. They don't care about technique. The thing is, it gets corrected over a lot of time, but you also have to self-correct and be aware of like, what could I do to make this different? Like here I'm trying to correct the lean back. and he's trying to get me to kick higher, which normally you'd lean back to make that work, but he doesn't want that, so it's an adjustment. And so here, I'm stumbling forward, which is why he wants me to hop on the kick, or on the teep, is so that you don't stumble forward out of control. You can control the teep the whole time. So here again, he's saying to fake the teep after having actually teeped in order to cut that angle. So I missed on that elbow, which just means come closer. It's okay to miss. It's not a mistake to miss. Just use it to learn for the next one. See how he's adding in the techniques that he taught me before when I'm exhausted? That's such good teaching. They don't let you be good at it at first. So I forgot my feet at this point, and I'm trying to remember my feet, and so I get a little bit more power as I start to remember them. This was really hard for me. It's cross, hook, cross, but my cross was stuffed because I was only thinking about the hook. Look at all you can learn from sucking at something. It's really, really important. It's really good. He was a lot of fun, and his technique is crazy. So this is the combination I was having a hard time with, the cross, hook, cross. And he's like, you can do it from anywhere. Don't worry about it. He's about to show me how you can hook from anywhere. Bong. Bong. That one's nuts. So you're in close, no power on your hook. So instead you bring your weight onto your back foot, and he does this like knuckles just into the temple. He says it's actually really easy to break your hand if you do it wrong. So he's gonna show me, don't bend your wrist. You just angle your elbow up a little bit.
I like this one.
Look at his arm.
Like right on the temple.
Back of him? Like that? Turn?
When I hook,
No, he turned.
Oh,
Boom.
God.
He turned. He turned.
Barely touched
Like
it.
that? Go wrong? Like,
when I turn my feet,
Look where he hits.
I'm not turn like
He said
this.
that's no good. That'll
Like
break your wrist.
Half.
yeah.
See how his
Boom.
elbow comes up at the last second so that he's hitting again
Can you
down
see it?
with that front knuckle?
นี่ใช่ไหม
อย่างนี้นะอย่างนี้ไม่
No
ได้
good.
แต่อย่างนี้
No good.
บุ้ม
So then it just
Elbow
pops
come up
over.
for a second.
And he's bringing his weight onto his back foot as he does that
อย่างนี้ไม่ได้
to create the distance that he needs to land it. Otherwise, it would go behind your head.
ฮะไม่เป็นไรเป็นคนแรกจริงๆไม่ต้องจริงๆอยู่นิ่งได้พุกได้
He's like, sometimes your opponent will move back anyway.
ป้า
Oh,
ปัง
อ่า
ค่ะ
oh,
ปัง
oh.
โอ้ปัง
อ่าฮะ
ใช่
So he's showing how when you're super
Right.
close,
ใช่
you can throw these crazy powerful shots
ใช่
from weight transfer.
อ่าฮะสกรูสกรู
Look at his shoulder.
Now I see when you uppercut
That's what I was doing. That's not right.
I do this one
Boom! Look at his feet. Look at his heel come up, and look at his hip twist. His hip that's closer to us twists back.
It's like a ball.
you know
Oh, God. You would not see that.
ไม่ได้
You'd just wake up later.
ปัง
no power กัน
ปัง
นี่ drop นิดหน่อยได้
So I was having a hard time getting the correct angle to get my knuckles, and he's emphasizing the shoulder.
ลอง
When he says yes, when I did it, what I actually did was tucked my elbow in towards my belly button,
อ่าฮะ
is what created the correct angle for me.
นิดหน่อยดีมาก
Bong.
อ่า
And again, relax.
KO 100%
ใช่ใช่ผู้หญิงน้อย
ใช่
Bong.
ๆปัง
Uppercut in Muay Thai is really good because people tend to be kind of open in the middle.
Relax. If opponent see
He
look
said
like
if your
you
opponent
relax,
sees
like
you all
nothing,
tense, like all ragey, they totally know to block. It's no problem. If you look really relaxed, they're like, oh, great, no problem. And then all of a sudden you throw it. Relaxation is like an invisibility cloak. It's amazing.
Relax.
Same thing with Samart's teeps. He's like, oh, that's no problem.
Calm. ได้ My hand.
See how he's just gently touching my hands? It's like, no problem. You don't want tension.
ได้
Ah, he's very cool. I like him a lot.
That is scary.
Beautiful. Beautiful.